With the WINN FM News, I am Yulana Weeks.
The Caribbean Community, CARICOM, is celebrating the appointment of Albert Ramdin as the new Secretary General of the Organization of American States. St. Kitts and Nevis used the platform of the 56th General Assembly to call for necessary reforms within the organization. In his address on Monday afternoon, Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Denzel Douglas congratulated Ramdin, a diplomat from Suriname, on becoming the first Caribbean national to hold a distinguished position.
Your ascension to this eminent position, Minister Ramdin, it comes at a pivotal crossroad in the history of our hemisphere, demanding bold leadership, unwavering determination, and a very clear vision to navigate the converging crises that challenge our own collective prosperity and stability.
With Ramdin set to assume office later this month, Dr. Douglas underscored the significance of this leadership transition.
For decades, the OAS has been a steadfast guardian of democracy, guardian of human rights, multidimensional security, and integral development throughout the Americas.
Dr. Douglas emphasized that Ramdin's leadership must be guided by a strong mandate to reinvigorate the OAS's mission, enhance its impact, and ensure that it remains a beacon of hope, prosperity, and unity for all member states.
But with shifting political realities, the organization must evolve to maintain in its relevance and capacity to drive transformative progress by becoming more agile and adaptable, leveraging its political influence to tackle emerging challenges while promoting inclusive and meaningful engagement.
While the OAS has played a critical role in the hemisphere, the Washington-based body has faced criticism over the years for its stance on certain issues. Dr. Douglas urged the organization to evolve in response to shifting political realities. Ramdin assumes leadership at a time when small island states in the region are grappling with existential threats. Dr. Douglas highlighted these challenges in his remarks.
Mr. Chair, the challenges before us, they are complex and multifaceted. From climate change and security threats to social inequality and economic instability. Addressing these issues demands collective solutions and greater cooperation among member states. We therefore look to our new leadership to drive a results-oriented agenda, one that delivers tangible solutions and fosters lasting change. St. Kitts and Nevis stands committed to working towards advancing a more integrated and prosperous hemisphere. As we strive to become a sustainable island state, our priorities must remain clear: advocating for climate justice, empowering our young people, strengthening educational opportunities, and enhancing regional security while championing democratic governance and upholding human rights.
Dr. Douglas also underscored the disproportionate burden that small island developing states bear due to climate change, stressing the urgency for action.
It is undeniable, that small island developing states continue to shoulder a disproportionate burden of climate change, and the urgency for action has never been starker. We call upon the OAS to play a more prominent leadership role in advocating tangible support for adaptation and resilience building efforts. We are recognizing that this crisis demands joint and concerted action to mitigate the devastating effects and safeguard the future of generations to come.
He also spoke on the issue of Haiti.
At the heart of our regional security concerns is the imperative to finally right the historic wrongs levied on our sister nation, Haiti. Haiti continues to endure overwhelming political upheaval, economic desperation, and a worsening security crisis that has caused unspeakable suffering. Rhetoric, it must be replaced urgently by decisive, coordinated, and substantive action. It is the sincere hope of my country that under your leadership, Secretary General-elect Ramdin, the OAS will valiantly work as a leading force for restoring stability, governance, and hope to the Haitian people.
The St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services has shared in the loss of a fellow firefighter from the Guyana Fire Service, Fire Officer Vashon Manbode. Manbode, 27, was badly injured when a wall collapsed on him as he battled the Maize School fire in Guyana on Wednesday, March 5, 2025. Manbode passed away on Saturday night at the Georgetown Public Hospital. He suffered multiple injuries to his head and other parts of his body. Acting Deputy Chief Fire Officer in the St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services, Timothy Martin, expressed sympathy to the Guyana Fire Service and to the friends and family of the fallen firefighter. Martin emphasized that the death of any fire officer in the line of duty is a tragedy often felt by the whole brotherhood of firefighters. Speaking about Manbode, Martin mentioned that the fallen hero is owed a debt of gratitude, having devoted his life to protecting and serving the community.
It is with great sadness that we extend our deepest condolences to the Guyana Fire Services and the entire firefighting community on the tragic loss of a brave firefighter who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. We as firefighters risk our lives daily to protect our community, and this devastating incident is a solemn reminder of the dangers we face while upholding our commitment to public safety. The loss of a brother in service is felt not only by Guyana, but by the fire services across the Caribbean. On behalf of the St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services, I offer our heartfelt sympathies to the family, friends, and colleagues of our fallen brother and firefighter. Our thoughts and prayers are with you during this difficult time. May his service, dedication, and bravery always be remembered. As we mourn this loss, let us stand in solidarity with our fellow firefighters and renew our commitment in preparedness, safety, and unwavering support for those who continue to serve.
Manbode's death is the first time in more than 2 decades that a fireman in Guyana lost his life as a result of injuries sustained in the line of duty. 8 fire tenders responded to the Maize School fire. It took more than 2 hours to completely extinguish the blaze. Besides the death of Manbode, 2 other firefighters were injured and are recovering. Martin wished the injured officers a speedy recovery, hoping that they would return to full health soon.
Accidents remain a persistent problem in St. Kitts and Nevis, and traffic officials believe it is time for drivers to show more courtesy on the roadway as the traffic department intensifies its education campaign. The issue has been particularly concerning over the last 13 months, with the Federation reporting more than 1,700 accidents, 1,345 in St. Kitts and 435 in Nevis. Sergeant Sophia Henry, speaking on WINN FM's Island Tip program on Monday, address the matter.
These small acts of consideration can make a big difference on the road. Driving is a lot more than the skill it takes to move a car from one place to another. When you earn a driving license, you are getting acceptance to a group of people who all need to work together to keep the road safe and efficient. Courtesy drivers acknowledge that we are all had to start somewhere. Think back to your L-plate days and give learners the breathing space that you would have.
The police force has taken steps to reduce accidents by increasing stop and search operations on bypass roads, which have led to a rise in traffic violations being detected. When asked by WINN FM News about the number of tickets issued this year compared to last year, Henry confirmed an increase.
Yes, we are making progress, although the stats for last year to compare with this year is higher. We are seeing a lot different still.
She revealed that 1,076 tickets were issued between January and February 2024 compared to 1,216 during the same period in 2025. How can discipline and courtesy be instilled in drivers? The traffic department has been working to ensure that safe driving habits starts in schools.
So do you all have programs present or planned to engage with the schools so that our young people can understand not just road courtesy, but also general courtesy, and at the same time identify in a positive way with our uniformed service providers, like police officers and so on. Just a thought.
We do have a program presently, and it's effective. Myself and the officers from the traffic department, we visit the schools in our area. Each school have a liaison officer, but being traffic officers, we more go to the students and try to educate them on the traffic laws and the ways to use the road and road safety, especially for the primary school students, walks to school.
Do you use the opportunity to try to encourage the children into courtesy generally? Remember, it's going to be difficult to be courteous when you turn on the engine. If you're not courteous before you do that, with what I see on the road every day.
We do go to the schools. We don't only talk to them about the traffic rules or road safety. We try to discipline them, encourage them to be disciplined, well-behaved, and we mostly speak to them to road safety, especially those who walk to school, those who have families that drive them to school. We try to encourage them to encourage their parents or whoever drives them to school to make sure they exercise all the safety precautions in terms of seat belt, allowing pedestrians to cross when they're driving. So we do set things in place to help the children to be courteous when they're using.
It remains to be seen how these changes will impact the Federation's roadways as reckless driving continues to contribute to road fatalities. Back in January, a 4-month-old infant tragically lost his life in an accident. In December, a medical practitioner succumbed to injuries from a traffic accident. Additionally, several people lost their lives in a collision in the New Guinea area last year.
The Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis joined the world over to commemorate International Women's Day on March 8, 2025. The theme for all women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment, serves as a call for action to ensure equal rights, power, and opportunities for women and girls all across the world. In St. Kitts and Nevis, special recognition ceremonies were held to honor distinguished women who have made positive impacts on society. The 2025 International Women's Day awardees for St. Kitts are Ms. Zavian Roma Richardson, Sustainable Development, Ms. Marva Weeks, Fashion Industry, Sergeant Charmaine O'Dane, Human Services, Ms. Camilla Lawrence, Creative Media, Ms. Carissa Roberts, STEM, Ms. Cranny Cranston, Empowerment Award, and Ms. Avenel Martin, Prime Minister's Award. 3 female trailblazers were also inducted into the Pioneering Women's Gallery. They are Mrs. Natasha Shani Gray Brooks, first woman appointed as political party leader, Dr. Davine Wilkin, first woman named as medical chief of staff, and Dr. Joylette Woodley Faisal, first female chief of surgery. In Nevis, the awardees were Ms. Shabana Clark, Entrepreneurship, Nurse Lorraine Archibald, Community Health Services, Dr. Curtis Clark, Mental Health and Well-Being, Mr. Risha Herbert, Environmental and Historical Conservation, and Ms. Dawn Kelly, Minister's Award. Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew, in a Women's Day message to the nation, spoke of the barriers that have hindered the full participation of women and girls in several places around the world. He emphasized the efforts of the government under his administration to ensure a fair society where women of the Federation are not overlooked.
There are places where women are not allowed to be educated. There are places where women cannot even enjoy the opportunity of sexual interaction. There are places where they can't determine for themselves whether they should give birth or not. There are places where the lives of women are totally controlled and dominated. I am not saying that we are perfect, but I want you never to take that for granted. I have taken on, as part of our platform in this government, to advance women issues and to advance the concept of women's equality. I have done so because, as I've said on the onset, that empowering women empowers a nation. Both of them are important to achieve what we seek to achieve within a sustainable island state.
The Women's Day activities were spearheaded by the Department of Gender Affairs on both islands. Regionally,
former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson is demanding answers about the missing billions in the Stocks and Securities Limited SSL fraud case, casting doubt that former SSL employee Jean Panton acted alone in what has become one of the largest financial scandals in Jamaica's history. As Sandy Williams reports, Mr. Patterson raised the issue at the People's National Party's Outreach Commission's Region 3 seminar at Summit House in Kingston.
At the PNP's Outreach Commission's Region 3 seminar dubbed Let's Get the Record Straight, Least We Forget, former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson made it clear that he does not indulge in rumor, speculation or gossip. Instead, he insisted on dealing with facts, raising serious questions about the scale of the fraud at Stocks and Securities Limited SSL and who else might have been involved.
I know there is a legal presumption of innocence to which all accused are entitled. If anyone who thinks that whatever Ms. Panton is accused of doing, if in fact she did anything could be done by her alone, must still believe that the world is flat.
Mr. Patterson emphasized that this was not a partisan issue, but a matter of national significance that affects the integrity of Jamaica's financial sector. He didn't hold back in his criticism of the government, accusing it of treating the case as a matter of national secrecy.
How could any government in their right senses possibly think that the failure of a licensed institution to repay 200 investors whose money has vanished could become an issue of national secrecy?
Panton, the former SSL wealth advisor, is currently facing 22 charges, including falsification of accounts, forgery, and larceny. Among the victims of the massive fraud is sprint legend Usain Bolt, whose missing millions have drawn international attention to the case. The former Prime Minister argued that the scale of the fraud was too vast to have gone unnoticed, particularly by international financial watchdogs.
Even if he kept quiet about it, there is an interest because you have some publications that track the income and the worth of athletic stars and of musical stars. So they have been following the story. And when they see a sudden dip in their account, they're going to take notice of it.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Now, the EC $22 million price tag for the central bank governor's official residence has been called an absolute scandal by St. Vincent's and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez. But Prime Minister the Honorable Gaston Brown, who is set to chair the ECCB Monetary Council, says he's holding back on judgment, at least for now.
Monetary Council has not met us yet. I'm sure we'll have to meet at some point to look at this issue. But we don't have all of the information.
Prime Minister Brown acknowledges governance failures, saying that the Monetary Council was left in the dark on the true cost of the project.
Clearly, there are some governance failures there. And, going forward, we're going to have to strengthen the reporting mechanisms and the accountability mechanisms to strengthen the governance framework, because at the level of the Monetary Council, I would say we were caught flat-footed in terms of the amount of money spent.
As for whether the governor of the ECCB overstepped, Prime Minister Brown says so far there's no sign of corruption.
There's no evidence that the governor himself had sought to be excessive, and certainly I don't know that I have seen any case of corruption also that would, create an issue in terms of undermining the governor's integrity.
Prime Minister Brown suggests an independent review may be needed before any conclusions are drawn, and assures that the public will be kept informed.
Internationally,
malaria season begins this month in many parts of Africa where it is deadliest disease, especially for children. The Trump administration's decision to reduce USAID's foreign aid contracts by 90% has raised concern among health officials in Uganda who fear disaster in poor regions.
It's not the complicated version. You only get oral medications that are around 25 or 20. So in total, it's around 60,000 Ugandan shillings. In terms of dollars, that's around, let me see, $20 or $18 or $19 you get. But if we go to the severe form where you need IVs, in addition, they may give you other IV fluids just because maybe malaria may cause dehydration, you may vomit, you get. So there, the bill is usually way too higher. It may be 3 times that amount. So $20 times 3, it may be around $60, which is really a big figure when you look at our socio-economic status of most of the people in our country.
Dr. Jimmy Opigo, in charge of Uganda's malaria control program, stated that the USAID's top work orders have shifted their focus to disaster preparedness.
Now, the disruption has worked on, for example, the logistic system. You know, the medicines, the test kits, the mosquito nets, the spray operations. We are constantly consuming these things. They are produced somewhere offshore. They have to be shipped, warehoused, and moved to service delivery points. So right now, this process has been interrupted. Meanwhile, the service delivery points are exhausting what they had at hand, which can hardly last 1 month. So the catastrophe is really going to ensue or unfold towards the end of this month.
A year of supply chain disruption by the U.S. could lead to 15 million more cases and 107,000 deaths.
Premier Doug Ford is taking another retaliatory step today in the trade war launched by the U.S. on Canada. Our Queen's Park reporter Sean Jeffers joins us with more on this. So Sean, the Premier targeting the power we sent to a number of American states. What exactly is going on here?
That's right, Dwight. So Premier Doug Ford making good on that promise to apply a surcharge, a 25% surcharge to power that's exported to the United States, specifically to 3 states, to New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. So the Premier says this will impact 1.5 million consumers there, businesses, homes, and it will just add additional costs to them. And he's saying that really that will generate more revenue for the province, which it will use $400,000 a day to help fight the tariffs and really help workers and businesses that are impacted by them. Let's hear from Premier Ford about this decision today.
This surcharge will cost families and businesses in these states up to $400,000 each and every single day. On an average, this will add around $100 per month to the bills of hardworking Americans.
So right there, the Premier really trying to emphasize the impact on the individual there, Dwight, talking about the cost that regular Americans will incur. And he thinks that this is really the path to ensuring that the message that these tariffs will have a negative impact on Canada, but also the United States, is how you reach U.S. President Donald Trump, who has put them on, taking them off, reverse course a number of times, but has threatened to impose them again on April the 2nd. The Premier has said, though, that he has not ruled out cutting off electricity supply to the U.S. as well.
So, Sean, you said this already. Ontario provides power to about 1.5 million customers in 3 states. How will this then affect people in the U.S.?
Well, that is the question, Dwight. And experts that I've spoken to have a range of opinions. They say that this is a very small amount of electricity that is sold by Ontario to these U.S. states. And they talk about the fact that the U.S. probably has workarounds, ways to get around it. But what it does is it complicates a system that is very intertwined, a grid that has been built over the last number of decades and shares power, peak load, when there is demand, throughout the system over any given day. So the experts say that it may not have a massive impact in terms of the cost, but there could be cost increases and also reliability issues in the United States. So here's former Energy Minister Brad Dogood talking about the impact that he sees this potentially having.
So they'll either have to pay 25% more for their power and utilize Ontario's power or electricity, or they'll find alternative sources of power that in all likelihood are more costly than Ontario's current. So what they do and what the extent of the damages to them is uncertain.
So right there, Dwight, you hear Duguid, the former energy minister, just talking about how, frankly, there will be downstream impacts here, and it may force people in the United States to buy from other energy suppliers, which could then increase costs. And Premier Doug Ford was asked about that, challenged about it, really, the effectiveness of this move. And he said, look, it'll have downstream impacts, and really what they're trying to provoke here is a kitchen table response. You know, consumers picking up their bill, looking at it, feeling a bit of pain, and pushing back on elected representatives in the U.S., which is a big part of the strategy that Ontario is trying to employ here.